What if the answers you're searching for are already within you? Here at Richer Within, we believe they are, and we're here to help you discover them. I'm Kathryn, joined by Dynamo Dr. Pat. Together, we blend science and spirituality to guide you in reconnecting with your inner wisdom and unique magnificence. Tune in for inspiring stories and practical strategies to boost clarity, embrace your worth, and spark meaningful change. Ready to unlock your inner wealth? Start your transformation now.
Wow, what a great show we've got planned for all y'all today. Richer Within. I'm Dr. Pat, and I get to take this beautiful journey with the most incredible Kathryn Richer. But the bottom line to this is how we get to activate your inner wealth of wisdom. Beyond that, you ever wonder what dreams are all about? You know, many of us have some story about them, but this is Kathryn's story. So today, your wealth of wisdom and dreams, sleep as a spiritual practice. I love this. Great show today, Kathryn, right?
It is a great show because there is so much wealth in dreams. And I'm definitely a lifetime dreamer. I have scads and scads of journals full mostly of dreams.
Wow.
And I have spent time reviewing them. I've spent time deciphering them and picking out what their symbolism is for me, like we have since humans began dreaming, across cultures, across time, across the world. We've questioned their origins and meanings, and they've been seen in a wider range of things like prophecies or insights to the inner self, healing, soul journeys. And I've personally experienced all of these. And recent scientific research is really exciting, and it points to two things I'd really like to highlight today. And those are dreams as attention grabbers and as creativity.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start with attention grabbers. You want a big attention grabber?
Yeah, let's talk about that because obviously you have had some impactful dreams, right? I think many of us think about this. We don't think about, I want to put a caveat out there. Impactful to me may be different than impactful to Kathryn. So when I was homeless on the street, my impactful dream was having a sandwich. And that was a dream, so everything comes around full circle for where you are in your life. But impactful is key no matter where you are in life, right, Kathryn?
Absolutely. So where I was in life for my most impactful dream was I was dating someone that I had had a lot of intuitional red flags about that I chose to ignore for various reasons. Again, this was quite a while ago. And about 2 months into the relationship, I had a dream that I was on the ground and I had been beat up. And he was looking down at me saying, "Look what you made me do." So some months later, it happened. He assaulted me. And in the course of that, said almost the exact words, "Wow, look at you." And so that was uh, that was quite a dream. And after that, I often had dreams about men that I was dating or was considering dated that like revealed their true situation or their character or provided direct advice. Like there was this guy I dated, he was a bass player, and he said that he was divorced. Well, I had a dream that he was introducing me to people at a party as his girlfriend, but this woman pops out behind a post and says, "I'm his wife." And of course, I asked him in real life, I said, "Gosh, I had this interesting dream and it said this." And he's like, "Wow, that's quite a dream." Well, it turned out not only was he not divorced, they were still sleeping in the same bed.
Wow.
Wow is right.
Wow.
Then there was a guy who was separated, living apart, and I was dating him, and I had a dream that I was considering buying a house that was being remodeled. But it turned out that the couple that lo and the house hadn't quite decided if they were really going to sell it. So I asked him, "Are you sure that you want to divorce?" And there was a long silence. Well, there's my answer. And then the last one I'll share with you is a person I had been dating and had reconnected with. And the first night that I was with him again, and in the middle of the night, there was there was what I would call a guardian angel. I don't know what else to call it. It was in white at the foot of the bed, and it was a female, and she said, "You don't belong here." So these were my my guardian dreams, my guardian angel dreams. And I've had other types of warning dreams, red flag alerts. Like years ago, I experienced eating disorder, and I would sometimes binge on sugar. Like this time of year, it does candy corns, and the pumpkins. And
Oh no.
I dreamed of diving into buffets of sweets and stuffing candy into my pockets, and I had dreams of the negative impacts of alcohol on my life, and particularly my spiritual development when I used to overindulge. And so these are examples of dreams that I have had that were real, real attention grabbers.
But let's talk about that. I mean, so often we have been meant I don't know who's responsible for this. I don't want to talk about Hollywood, right? Because we always dump on Hollywood that Hollywood is responsible for us having fantasy dream things. But the mystics, what you talked about, going back in time, dreams were the stuff that you read about now. I don't know. Maybe there are some, but you have to help me out here. I don't know of anything I've studied or read, whether it be spiritual or human potential, where some aspect of dreams were part of a life cycle, cycle. Do you know what I mean? And yet, what am I concerned about? We're going to lose touch of our dreams, and they're so wonderful, aren't they?
Mhm. They are so wonderful. And it's interesting you bring that up, Dr. Pat, because usually only about 2% of our dreams contain stuff about, daily stuff, and it's conglomerating stuff like it's bored and has nothing better to do. It's often much more than that. And that brings me to the creative aspect of it, which, if you think of mystics, a lot of creativity, and because they're in a different realm. And so, in terms of creative aspects of dreams, wow, how about musicians who have dream inspired songs like Paul McCartney's Yesterday and Let It Be, Taylor Swift, All You Have to Do Is Stay, Peter Gabriel, Rain, The Police, Every Breath You Take. Carl Perkins, who wrote Blue Suede Shoes, had a dream about a couple dancing and the guy saying, "Don't step on my blue suede shoes." That became Elvis Presley's one of his greatest hits. And then, really interesting, Terry Gross interviewed Keith Richards on National Public Radio, and he used to sleep with his guitar and a tape recorder by his bed. And one night he went to sleep and he woke up to see that the tape recorder had bounced all the way to the end. And when he replayed it, he heard the riff to what became Satisfaction. I can't get no satisfaction. And that's why he always kept a tape recorder by his
Yeah.
bed. I actually did that. I was in a dream class
Wow.
in college and noticed that as I was falling into sleep, I always twitched. My legs would do this big twitch. And my husband at the time noticed that. And so I did my own little study. And we put a tape recorder by the bed. And as I was falling asleep and did that twitch, he would say, "Kathryn, what are you dreaming?" And every single time there was something there. And that's similar to, well, it's similar to the concept of what people have done, inventors and artists like Salvador Dali's art actually came from his dreams. And he and Thomas Edison had a practice where they would, to inspire creativity, they would hold a ball or a pen or something in their hand, and then they would drift off to sleep. And when that fell on the ground and woke them up, there was often a solution to a problem
Yeah.
or a new idea or something like this. And so even Mary Shelley's book Frankenstein originated in a nightmare she had.
Well, let me ask you a question about that because, see, I love this. As kids, let's just play on this for a minute because you've named like almost everything, right? We left out Einstein, but we should include Einstein
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
And this is really kind of interesting because there are some of us as kids, we used to plan our dreams before we went to bed, right? Now, we all have, this is not a psychology show, so we can talk about why we did that in a whole nother show. I know why I did it because I never felt protected. So I watched horror movie after horror movie. Thank you for bringing up Frankenstein.
Mhm.
That was one of the most impactful movies on me as a kid. But part of this shapes us for the future. Let's talk about that because let's talk about it as people that are in the field of helping other people like you are.
Yes, absolutely, because dreams can be helpful in therapy. They can be brought to light in that context of trying to apply them to what is happening. What is this drawing my attention to in my own life? I recently heard a really interesting uh, brain surgeon who wrote a book about dreams, and he calls it that there's a nocturnal therapist, like a problem solver for dreams. Harriet Tubman dreamed of flying over familiar landscapes. And she recognized that terrain in waking life and was able to find her way to north when she escaped from slavery. I'll tell you about a problem solver and a nocturnal therapist. I've been on the fence for quite some time whether to leave my marriage or not. And I had a dream and I saw a chalkboard, and in white writing, it said, "Why don't you just leave and get it over with?" Well,
Now, yeah,
how
that in the dream. Okay, so let's just be clear. That was like in the dream that you saw
that was
that.
in
You
the
didn't
dream.
like write. Okay, you didn't write it on the board. It was like
That
the
was a
dream.
message in, I
See?
mean, what? That didn't cost me a dime. All I had to do was,
Exactly.
and wow, you can't get more direct than that. And also in terms of this capacity that it has, you can also think of it as emotional healing. I've had dreams of people that have transitioned, like my father came to me a number of times in dreams, and we were both
Yeah.
crazy about the cosmos. And he would come and silently we would walk out, and there would be this cosmic display. My cat Rumi came to me a few times and assured me that it was his time to go, which, I had really grieved about. A woman that I co-led retreats many, many years with comes to me in dreams, and she's like new and young and vibrant and just like, wow, she is great. And also lifetime friends that have passed on. So, and those have provided me a lot of comfort. And wow, how great to see you again, right? And we can also have a lot of dreams that just make absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I love what Spielberg says. I've always been a fan of Spielberg, even before he was Spielberg. Is that rude for me to call him by his last name? Last name? Everybody calls me Basili or DIP. But what I love what he said early on about these because one of my friends is E.T.'s mom, Dee Wallace. And, I've always been fascinated with that movie, but Spielberg, and I would love for you to talk to this because the way you're describing it is the experience, I believe, that many of these creative people, such as yourself, he talks about it's intuition, it's not shouting. He
Mhm.
talks about this is they don't like overly appear like some kind of commercial on some car salesperson. My car sales friend is going to now email me on that comment, but they're quiet, they're instinctual voices, and if you're a visual, they show up in dreams. So, would you talk for a minute about this idea of them as a spiritual practice? Because sometimes you have to be at peace to get the message.
Yes. And what better time than when the executive function of your brain is completely switched off? Because that's what happens when you enter deep sleep. and particularly REM sleep. And so to me, it is a spiritual practice, and I protect my sleep because it's that, to me, spiritual practice is that which draws me into a more intimate connection with my higher self, with my inner wealth of wisdom, as I like to say. And so, good sleep, and especially the REM sleep, the rapid eye movement sleep, paves the way to dreams. And so, for this reason, I do consider it a spiritual practice for me because it serves as a portal to connect with that wise, intuitive aspect of who I am beyond everyday consciousness.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about this because a lot of my life I didn't understand these things. And then as my spiritual practice became more activated, I understood the power of these. And today, during the show, at the end of the show, you're going to really show us how to call that in. But there's this thing I know you're going to talk about mining dreams,
Mhm.
symbols. I see symbols a lot of times. I see things that don't make sense to other people. What do you want to say to people as we look at these symbols that show up in our lives to just make them aware that there may be something message trying to get to you?
The first thing that I would like to say is that you are your best dream interpreter because everything that is happening within you and is about you and your life and the conglomeration of your life, and most likely a lot more. However, it is unique to you, just like intuition, the other forms that we've talked about throughout this podcast in terms of body wisdom and other types of intuition. And so it's really critical first. It's okay to, say to somebody, gosh, what do you think about this? Or I had a dream book for a long time, dream interpretations, and it just never resonated with me. So what I would suggest is to, if you're able to, keep a dream journal if you don't already, and track your dreams. And what they say now is rather than right away writing it down, take just a moment as you're drifting into conscious awareness again to etch it into your memory. And then, with as little light as possible, because you don't want to wake yourself up and not be able to go back to sleep, write your dreams down and then review them. I mean, sometimes, wow, how could I get more clear about that chalkboard dream or about the woman at the end of the bed in white that said, you don't belong here? Okay, that's clear. There are those dreams that maybe they reveal down the road their meaning. You can have patterns, you can have symbols, reoccurring feelings, reoccurring themes, and then ask what they might mean in relation to your current situations or challenges. I had dreams for a long time about spiders, and eventually those went away. They weren't necessarily scary, except for one that was kind of an initiation dream, but different story. Long story that we don't have time for here. I had dreams about not being able to find a toilet. And I knew in my life I was stuffing things. I was not releasing emotions. And the other thing that you can do is you can ask your dreams meaning in
Mhm.
meditation. If you have some moments of silence, maybe that morning when if you have the luxury of time to wake up slowly and not enter life right away, to ask in silence, what is this showing me? What
Mhm.
is it telling me? What am I meant to do with this? And again, you can use dreams in therapy. I also want to say if you don't remember your dreams, don't feel bad because not everybody does. Everybody dreams unless you're not in REM sleep. And but not everybody remembers. And
Yeah.
they may be stored just like subliminal messages that you can still access in different ways. Like in your movie theater and they subliminally flash Coca-Cola and Pepsi, go get a popcorn, and people all of a sudden leaving their seats and come back. And they're not even seeing that in their awareness, but it's unconscious. So it may still be there to help inform you along the way.
I love it. I want to thank you so much for this. Now, we've got something special coming in the way we close the show today.
We do. We do have something special coming, and it's about entering that space where we are really more ourselves than we ever can be, and less ourselves. I like to think of it more myself with a capital S and less myself, which is also really what we are in dreams. We are in that larger state of ourself. We are in our larger consciousness. And that's one of the things I love and value so much about dreams and the value of them, and valuing sleep and having good sleep
Mm,
practices. And do a lot of research about sleep practices, like, you
hmm.
know, waking and sleeping times and sleeping in a cool room. And there's a lot of general things. Just pay attention to what you're doing, and that you dream when you do them, or you don't dream when you do them, like eating way too much before you go to sleep, or
Yeah.
setting an alarm. If you have the luxury to not set an alarm in the morning, because wow, if I have an alarm, my dreams, they are gone. They're
Mm,
gone. So yes, and this place that we will enter through the spiritual mind spa treatments, I like to call them,
yes.
just an invitation to shift into a different space, a space that is allowing of that feeling of connection with your deeper self, your inner self. Yeah, looks like you're ready.
Let's do it. We got about 3 minutes left, so let's roll it.
Okay, let's do this. So I invite everyone, if it feels safe to do so, it is safe to simply close your outer eye, just like we close the curtains at night as we drift into sleep, knowing that we are held in the lap of a loving universe, that whether asleep or awake or dreaming or in our daily lives, we are always encompassed in this beautiful light, this beautiful love, this beautiful life that is all that there is. There is this one life, this one presence and power and intelligence that infuses everything, that begins everything, that sustains everything, that is everything. Everything that we see is an emanation of this one power and presence. And so I know this to be the truth of me. I know that I am an emanation of that one. And as it is the truth of me, I know it is the truth of everyone. Everyone hearing this, everyone everywhere, is a unique embodiment of that one, is a unique embodiment of that very power that lights up the stars, that presence that is the life force that courses through their veins, that is the perfect pattern of life, and that infinite wisdom that resides within them. And so, knowing this to be the truth of who they are, I speak this word for and about them, and I call forth that awareness of that consciousness beyond the thinking mind, a willingness to explore it through dreams, through imagination, through the creativity that comes through it, a willingness to trust what emerges, a true willingness to walk that path of unique intuition, and that intuition that dreams provide. And that as they do so, they are encouraged and comforted and guided and even guarded through their dreams. And this leads them into more and more good than they had even imagined in their lives, a more beautiful life. The life that they've always imagined to live is theirs for the living here and now. And I'm grateful to know that this is the truth. And in that knowing, I release this word into the divine law of love, that unconditional love that always says yes in that quantum field of infinite potential. And I release this knowing it is already done in the heart mind of the divine. I simply let it be, and we welcome it to be, and say, and so it is.
And so it is. Kathryn, thank you so much for today. And I want to make sure that people know if they want to connect with you directly, if there are any questions, they can go to richerwithin.com. For those of
Yes.
you out there, it's richerwithin.com. Connect with Kathryn. Questions, Ask the questions. Or maybe perhaps you need the power of the prayer, the spiritual mind treatment that Kathryn just did. Because what happened is energetically, we can allow and we can shift. Kathryn, thank you so much for everything today.
Thank you, everybody. Namaste.
Namaste, everybody. Thank you, Sierra. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you for investing in yourself by listening to Richer Within with me, Kathryn, and Dr. Pat. Continue this journey with us every third Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Feeling inspired? Visit richerwithin.com to explore one-on-one sessions, speaking engagements, and supportive services with me. Together, let's co-create a world that uplifts everyone through deeper living and conscious presence. Until next time, and always, align with your inner wealth of wisdom. Wow.